Hey guys, what's up? It's Yana. Welcome to day 27 of Camp NaNoWriMo July 2021. I've just been kind of chilling today, sort of relaxing, catching up on sleep and like just resting after yesterday's party. It was a really good party. It was really fun. We all got a little bit tipsy enough that some of us got into the sea in our underwear. Then again, I don't really need to have any alcohol to do that sort of thing. I do it when I'm completely sober. So I don't know if that was the alcohol or we were just like, hey, the sea is there and we're a little bit crazy. We're just gonna go into the sea. Anyway, it was really great. It was really fun. But that means I haven't done a whole lot today. We were meant to go out with my friend and do some kayaking or some windsurfing, but as I suspected was going to happen, and as I told her yesterday, we probably won't do that today. We will need to postpone because you're going to be too tired, and maybe even I'm going to be too tired. So yeah, we didn't go out today, but I did go dancing to my usual dance class. Unfortunately, those are coming to an end because they're on a break during August, so this was actually my last kizomba class probably for this year, unless I do some when I come back for Christmas here again. But set times, I might do some bachata during August because they have like a quick beginners class, like a very fast track beginner's bachata class. And then when I was walking home from my dance class, I passed through the center of town because I just wanted to walk a little bit more, and I happened upon a random opera concert in front of our opera house, just outside in the open with like an orchestra and opera singers, which was really cool. I didn't know that was happening. I haven't checked like the cultural program for the city. I know that I'm going at the beginning of August. I think it's like the 11th of August or something. It's not the beginning, that's the middle of it. We'll go and see a production of The Lion King, but apart from that, I didn't know what was happening. So yeah, Varna is pretty cool during the summer. There's a lot of music and theater stuff happening, which is great. So, probably time for me to actually get some writing done, because July is nearly over, and I actually got, when I was looking through my Facebook, a memory popped up, and apparently on this day last year is when I reached my word count goal for last Camp NaNoWriMo July. But this year obviously there's no word count goal, there's not even a project on the Camp NaNoWriMo website. I'm just kind of vlogging throughout July, and we'll see how far I get by the last day of this month with the revisions and editing on my novel. So there's no goal to reach, we're just kind of chugging along. So I'm gonna sit down and try to just chug along tonight, because I haven't been too... Yesterday was very productive, but other than yesterday, the last few days I haven't been that productive because I've just been having fun with my friend. But let's see what I managed to do now. Ooh. Okay, I was about to do like a proper vlog and just film myself typing and working and whatnot, and I wasn't gonna talk about what I'm gonna talk about now, but then I thought nobody's, like barely anybody's watching these vlogs. I'm basically making them for the sake of going back and kind of just seeing what I was doing in July 2021. So I thought, this is on my mind, I should probably just talk to the camera about it. In the last few days, I've been randomly rereading old fanfiction in various fandoms. And like many people, especially many writers, I wrote some fanfiction myself. Not a humongous amount of it. I mean, it's quite a lot of it, but not like, you know, there are some people who have like a massive list of fanfiction that they've written for so many fandoms. I wrote some, and the selection of fandoms that I wrote for is really funny. I wrote for I only have, I believe, one thing, and it's like a little parody for Harry Potter. Harry Potter, for me, for some reason, wasn't a fandom that I wanted to write in. I read some stuff, but like it was too oversaturated and it was just too big. And I tend to like more niche fandoms, almost. So, barely anything in Harry Potter. I've got a good number of Beast Wars, Transformers Beast Wars fanfiction. Actually, that used to be one of my favorite fandoms because it was small. We genuinely all knew each other. There were some really cool people on there. And there were some really good fan works on there as well. And I, at the time, had some friends that I talked to, you know, every day from that fandom. And then I also have a few fics for The Picture of Dorian Gray and the movie, the new movie. I know, I'm shameless. I know the book people probably hate me, but I like the new movie with Ben Barnes. I thought it was cool. I really like Ben Chaplin as Basil, so my fics were mainly based on the movie. And I think the best thing I've ever written in terms of fanfiction was written for the Les Mis fandom. And the thing about this particular fic is I keep over like periods of time, I keep going back to it and rereading it. And it doesn't happen with most of my other fics. I'm usually like, oh gosh, this was terrible, but like, you know, it was fun and it's fan fiction and I hope most people never read this, but yeah. There's a really popular Good Omens one that I wrote that I'm very fond of as like a memory and experience, and I think there's some very cute ideas on there. And it's like hugely popular, but I reread it and I'm like, oh gosh, this is quite cringy. But this Les Mis one, I keep rereading it and thinking, this is actually genuinely good. It has problems because it was written episodically. You know, it wasn't, the whole thing wasn't properly plotted out, and you know, I wanted to post chapters quickly so that people would react. You know, everything that has to do with fan fiction, which is actually a lot similar to how YouTube works. You kind of want to keep the stuff going so that people would watch it, which is why I kind of don't do that, because it's too much pressure and time and effort. But I kind of did that back then with this fic, even though I still took quite a long time between chapters, because I was very fond of it and I wanted to make it good. And I keep rereading it, and every time I read it, I'm interested in reading it. And I'm like, this was so much effort went into this, and some of this, in spite of its problems, in spite of some, you know, bad sentences or like some plot issues, maybe some character issues, some questionable dialogue, on the whole, I think it's still very readable and it holds up in my mind. So this idea has popped up into my head a number of times over the years, because this thing is old now. Like, I finished it, I posted the last chapter, the epilogue, years ago. But the fact that I keep coming back to it more and more is convincing me that maybe I could try to make something of it. And of course, this is an extremely controversial topic. Can we and should we turn fanfics into books? Personally, for me, so long as the work has departed and gone very far from the original, so much so that you can genuinely say, this is now an original story. There's so much in it that the author of the fanfic, you know, the new author, not the original author, put in, that this is a worthwhile product on its own. So long as you can say that, I don't think there's anything wrong with reworking it into just an original novel or whatever, or novella or book, whatever you want to do with it. And I think in most cases where things that were previously fan fiction have gained a lot of popularity and become really famous, and the authors have become really successful, I may have other issues. I may have like writing issues or taste issues with them, but I don't think with any of those things. So we're talking 50 Shades of Grey, we're talking the Shadowhunter series, we're talking, what else was a fan fiction that became a thing? After the One Direction fan fiction, oh gosh, that thing, that thing genuinely makes 50 Shades of Grey look like a good book. But anyway, this is not, we're not here to comment on the merits of all these things. The point is, whatever issues I may have with all of these books and series, the issue is not that they were fan fiction. Like, I don't think any of them are plagiarized. I genuinely don't. 50 Shades of Grey has fuck all to do with Twilight. It really doesn't. Even the way that Anastasia Steele is written does not remind me of Bella Swan. Christian does not remind me of what's his face? Oh God, Edward. There we go. I'm so glad I've forgotten what the names of the main characters in Twilight were. Yeah, Christian is not Edward. Even less so in the Shadowhunter series. Like, there is no trace whatsoever of Harry Potter anywhere on there. I don't think that Jace is Draco and all of that. So while these may be terrible books, I don't begrudge their authors the right to publish them. So this brings us back to, should I maybe, since I like this thing so much, should I maybe rewrite this one fanfic that I think is worth it out of all the ones that I wrote, because I don't think the rest of them are worth doing this. But this one, is it worth reworking the whole thing and trying to publish it as a book? And that's a question that I don't have an answer for yet. I don't have any moral issues with it. It would just be a question of, can I do that? If I rework it as an original work, would it still stand, or do you need the context of Les Mis? And of course, another thing is that Les Miserables is in the public domain, I believe, unless I'm wrong and something's changed with like copyright laws. That is in the public domain. So I'm not breaking any laws as far as I know. I've seen books based on things in the public domain that were like legally published. There's a bunch of sequels to the Phantom of the Opera that were legally published. It's literally Phantom of the Opera fanfiction where he hooks up with Meg, and there's probably other ones as well. I think there's a play. There's of course I should have started with this one. There's Phantom of Manhattan, the Forsyth book that the sequel to Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical is based. That book is awful beyond belief. So this has been done before, but if I were to do it, I wouldn't want to just, because it's slightly alternate universe as well, I wouldn't want to literally just publish it as it is, even though potentially, I haven't checked, but potentially that might be a thing that I could legally do. I don't want to do that. I am actually very big on being original and putting in effort and making things my own. So if I were to try this sort of thing, I would have to rewrite it, expand it, create a new universe, probably create a whole world, because I don't know anything really about France, so while I would, you know, allow myself to write something set in France and fanfiction, I would never do that in the real world. I barely even set foot in France. I've been there like maybe a couple of times. I know nothing. I just wouldn't dare. It wouldn't be my place. So I'd have to rework the characters slightly, and I'd have to either create a whole other world, because I don't think I can set it in the real world and be and do it justice. So it should be a certain amount of work, but it shouldn't be a huge amount of work, because I checked the word count of this thing and it is 65,000 words. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think that makes it officially the longest book I've ever written, and it's a fanfic. And by fanfiction standards, it's not even that long. Like, there are things on FanFictionNet and Archive of Our Own that are massive, absolutely massive soap operas. But this is book length. I didn't realize that. I thought it was shorter, and then I looked at the word count, and 65,000 words. I haven't reached that in my current novel that I have worked so hard in. And granted that this is a children's book, and the one that I'm talking about, the fanfic, is definitely for adults. But even so, how did I write 65,000 words? And there are like 3 distinct parts that you can separate it into, and it's just, it's a surprisingly serious work of fiction. And yeah, that's kind of what's been on my mind. And I was almost a little bit, at first I was almost a little bit kind of frustrated that I didn't remember this thing and read it before July, because it's the sort of thing that I feel is a very good Camp NaNoWriMo project, because it doesn't require that much work and it's kind of self-contained. I probably could have edited that and reworked it in a month, and then I would have had like a finished product by the end of the month. But then after that I was like, no, don't fall into that trap. You stay on track and you work on the thing that you're supposed to be working on before you get distracted by a million other ideas. I know lots of authors, especially on AuthorTube, do that and they switch between projects. I just don't think that's good for me. Like, if that works for you, that's absolutely fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's a bad idea for me. I think I should just stay on track and finish things. So it's a good thing I didn't read it in June and then decide to do it as a project in July. But I think I'm kind of pinning it on my like metaphorical corkboard as something that I may do right next to that billionaire romance that could be potentially reworkable into something readable, who knows. So this is good. There's a lot of things that it seems like they are almost near completion that I could, if I put in a little bit of work and effort, I could end up with some products. Whether those would be readable or marketable or sellable or anybody would have any interest in them is another matter entirely, but I think it's just good as a writer to have finished works, whether they see the light of day or not. And I try to make sure that anything I consider an actual proper book that I've written sees the light of day, hence the children's novel that I published when I was almost nearly just out of my teen years. So yeah, this had nothing to do with I've been writing this month, so I'm sorry. That was just kind of a topic that came out of nowhere, but it was in my head, so I thought I'd share it with you. And I guess this is what today's video is going to end up being about, because now I'm slightly distracted and it's going to take me a little while to get back into the headspace of writing and trying to vlog at the same time is only gonna get in the way of that, so I'm not gonna do that. So yeah, this is the video that you get today. Please let me know. I'm really curious about your opinions on fanfiction turned actual proper novels, and whether you think that's problematic, whether you think those authors should be paying copyright money to the original authors, or do you think it depends on what it is? Of course, here we can go into parodies and what goes into that, because parodies obviously are allowed, but then what's the difference? Where do you draw the line? And all of those sorts of things. Obviously, I think if you are very clearly stealing something and it's not just inspired by, it's you've stolen it, then I have a massive issue with that as a creator and just as a person. Like, just don't do that. do your work. But I just think in some cases that that's not what it is. If you depart far enough from the original, the inspiration, but you do something completely different with it, then I think that's something that has a right to exist, and it has kind of left the realm of fanfiction if you manage to rework it like that, because currently what I'm talking about, this is pure fanfiction. At the moment it's fanfiction. I would have to do something to it in order for it not to be that. But I think if I did, then I personally wouldn't feel guilty for turning that into a book. Oh my goodness, my cats are fighting again. So please let me know what your opinion is, and thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!